What's going on, y'all? It's me, Heather, and I know it has been a minute since I have done anything on this channel, but I decided it is time for me to come back. And so we are going to be talking today about the new show on called The Never Ever Mets. Now, here's what's funny. This show is actually into episode 3, but I just absolutely refuse to do the first 2 episodes because it got a little bit domestic. And so I won't be reviewing uh, those 2 episodes because I feel like if you want to watch it, you can go back and watch it yourself. But I'm not going to contribute to that foolishness. So here, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just tell you the premise of the show. So the premise of the show is that you have 7 couples. It started out with 7 couples, and they um have been in virtual relationships. Like they've been online talking, they've been in those type of relationships, but they've not actually seen each other in person. So you have those who just met 3 months ago, all the way up to 12 years they've been into these relationships. So this is very interesting to say the least. They decide to come onto the show and meet up with their person in real life to see if they want to continue the relationship and see what they can build from that. So, like I said, due to the interaction of their first couple, I won't be talking about them. So we'll just talk about the 6 couple that's left after that. Like I said, you guys can go back to episodes 1 and 2, and they'll be able to you'll be able to see all of the couples. So we won't even mention them here. Um, so moving forward to what we got going on here. And I'm trying to pull my presentation up. There we go. Um, so to this episode, this one opens up with the couple of Shay and Josh. If you see, Shay and Josh have been together for 12 years online. Um, which I find to be wow. They have been just online in this relationship for 12 years. And they seem to be already compatible with each other. They seem very excited to be around each other. They yeah, they're happy people. Um and so they wake up in the intimacy room, which is a room they've set to the side if you want to take your relationship to the next level. They have provided the intimacy room in this big mansion, which, we can get into that another day about why they just don't have separate rooms anyway. But they wake up there, and the couples are moving about preparing breakfast. Now we have this couple here, Diamond and Aaron, which Diamond's 44, Aaron's 51, and they've been online in a relationship for about 5 years, and they kind of become these self-proclaimed, like, I don't know, group therapists. Because he's the oldest in the bunch, and I guess she's the oldest woman in the bunch as well. And they want to have a sit down conversation with Sienna and Brandon, which is this couple here. Brandon and Sienna have been together, I want to say 10 months, but they've been together and they seem to not be getting along because they're having issues with communication. They're having issues with Sienna is kind of explosive. And so anything that she says, it just comes out. She's from the Bronx. She says that, she just has this rough exterior. And she and Brandon, who is 35, are having issues with the way that they communicate. So Diamond and Aaron kind of want to talk to them about, what's going on with them because we're seeing the not so good side of them. And she wants to know, they would just want to know what's going on with them. Sienna says they have I guess, a communication problem, but also the romantic aspect they're wondering about. Brandon then tries to pipe up and have a conversation about what's going on, and Sienna just kind of cuts him on off because This is just what Sienna does. She's and so they Aaron tries to come up with an exercise for them by handing them, I don't know what it was, but it was some type of object he handed him, and just to say the person that's holding the object should be the person that's having the conversation. Well, they thought it was a good idea, but they actually didn't. They wasn't paying attention to that. Brandon say one thing, Sienna's still going off. So they've ignored the the concept of actually using um an object to show who's the person having the conversation right now. So that's something that they're really going to have to work on. And I'll just say, uh, just giving my 2 cents here, when you have two people who have two different ways of communicating, you have people who are used to communicating in a Sienna's personality. I won't call her combative or anything. I just have a problem with words like that. Um, Sienna. Um, is a more in your face kind of communicator. Brandon seems to be a little bit more passive. And when you have two people that are like that, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work out because the person that's going to be more expressive usually comes off as being like, the person that's taking over and everything because they're not getting much from the other person. So a lot of times it looks as though they are steamrolling that person, but it's sometimes just because that person doesn't know how to communicate as well. So sometimes you have someone that is doing way too much because their partner is not doing enough. So once they get on, I really think that once they get on a better um, page as far as what they're looking for in their relationship, they may be a little bit better, but I'm not so sure about that. Also, we have Greg and what's this child's name? Millie. They were talking over to the side to another couple about whether or not they think these two, and this is Greg and Millie here. They were talking about whether or not they think these two are going to get along. Millie doesn't think they have a chance. And Greg is like, I think that once the physical comes into place, then maybe they be okay. But I, mm, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Um, the other thing that Diamond, not Diamond. Ooh, the other thing that Sienna had a problem with was that Brandon went to talk to Millie about what is going on in their relationship. And even though she was talking to Greg at the same time, she felt like she needed to be involved in what's going on with the relationship, what's happening. But again, she does a lot of popping off. Last episode, she and Brandon got into it at the pool table, and she called him the B word. So I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. She's gonna have to step back a little bit, and he's gonna have to step up a little bit. So it's gonna have to take a little bit from both sides. She mentioned that when he laughed while she was having a conversation, it made her feel um, like not heard. She's definitely said that she's in a vulnerable state, and it seems like when he's feeling vulnerable, he starts to laugh. So they're gonna have to get to know what that looks like. What nervous energy looks like for the two of them, as far as how to communicate, what's gonna be acceptable in this conversation, and what's gonna be unacceptable. They just got to get a lot going. They just gonna have to get it together. But um, a discussion between Aaron and Greg was talking about Jody and Aaron J. Let me get their pictures. So you have Jody or Joanna, and this Aaron, we have two Aarons. And the conversation has been about whether or not their relationship is progressing, because people in the house are noticing they don't spend as much time together as the other couples. Now, Greg says, they're like two dead batteries and they are not going to get a spark off of each other. And they're going to have to, work on that relationship because it doesn't look like it's going too far as they're concerned. Um, so if we scroll on and go on to later on in the day, we see that Brandon and Sienna worked together to actually prepare a dinner for the group, which, yay, kudos to y'all. Great job. During this dinner, Diamond and Aaron again gets up because they again the self appointed therapists of the group or the couples counselors, whatever you want to call them. They decide to do a couples game. They sit down, they have a beautiful dinner, they have steak and potatoes basically with a little salad that Brandon prepares. I never did find out what is. I think Brandon is. It may be a chef or something, but he's been doing a lot of the cooking. Um, so they decide to do kind of a little game to decide, just to see where everybody's at as far as the couples are concerned. So, and then each couple got a chance to write down, or each person got a chance to write down who they thought which couple would do whatever. So you had questions like, which couple is the most dramatic? And of course, everyone said Sienna and Brandon. Chris just told her, and let's find Chris. This is Chris here. This is Chris, and so he said to her, um, you could maybe calm down a little bit, and maybe that can help Brandon to do whatever. I don't know if that's a I don't necessarily like what he said, but I get what he's saying. Um, So they said which couple would benefit from couples therapy. And there were 11 for Sienna and Brandon, and then one for Aaron and Jody. And again, this is Aaron and Jody. And this is because the other Aaron said, look, I don't really see intimacy working for you guys. What they were saying is that everybody else is kind of all up on each other, hugging, kissing, holding hands, getting to know each other, being right in each other's presence. Jody said she don't need to be up in nobody's face. This is what y'all don't understand. I don't need to be up in nobody's face. It ain't like that. Aaron says he doesn't have an issue with the way they communicate right now because couples sometimes live in different homes. So that's just what they do. Millie, which is this young lady here, Millie was asking them, about the level of attraction they have for each other. And everybody just kind of feels like their relationship just runs a little flat. And I get it. They're not, when you see them, they're not really, having much of a conversation. Actually, the first conversation they had at the dinner, um, I felt like Joanna was very, I don't know, she just kind of seemed like she wasn't into him on first sight. She also seemed a little judgmental when he was trying to do something nice, prepare dinner for her and everything. He doesn't drink, or he wasn't drinking that day, and he wanted to make wine for I guess he doesn't drink wine. He was gonna he purchased wine for her, and and he didn't know how to open up the wine bottle, so he just sitting there, and she just had a lot to say. The both of them, I just don't see it. I think they have just been used to talking online, and I don't see it moving any farther past that. I just think they just make for good internet friends. That's what I feel like about them. Some of the other questions that they asked in the little group were, which couple is the most romantic? You got that one. Which one is in need of an intimacy suite? you know, a lot of them said Millie and Greg because they feel like Millie and Greg will possibly take their relationship to the next level if they actually got a chance to be a little bit more intimate. Um, then you had least compatible, Sienna and Brandon. Uh, argues the most, Sienna and Brandon. Most toxic, Sienna and Brent. It just seems like there's a theme running here with those two. They seem to bump heads a lot, and I'm not really sure for them if this relationship is going to work. So the host of the show comes in and let them know that family and friends will be coming to visit them to kind of help them make a decision on their relationships. And the first couple up happens to be Sienna and Brandon. So in the next scene, we see that Brandon's friend, Aaron come, not Aaron, Brandon's friend Matt comes to the house to talk about their dynamic. He tells him about how um, things have been going in that first few days. He does say though he'll never say never. The relationship isn't quite over, but and he's willing to work on it, but not really sure, what they're gonna get out of that. So he's gonna stay hopeful, but he's not necessarily. He is preparing for the worst. While they're having the conversation, we see that the the couple's therapist, Diamond and Aaron, go over to talk to Shay and Josh about their relationship. They were asking if marriage was on the table for them, and since they've invested, 12 years into this situation, how are they gonna move forward? And they let them know that marriage really is on the table for them. So they're looking long term. They've invested 12 years into this relationship, and they are very much interested in having a getting married and everything. Now, the only funny thing about this situation with Shay and Josh is that Josh has a 3-year old, and they've been in a relationship for 12 years. So that was a conversation they had to have about how we end up with a 3-year old that's not between the two of us. We never met each other, but we're in a long-term relationship. He said that there was some roommate situation that happened. He immediately told her what happened. She said that because he came to her when it happened and not, 3 years later, she's able to move forward with it. They've made amends and they're ready to, make them a blended family. More power to y'all. All right. Amen. Um, now, when you come, now, Sienna's friend Gigi comes over to see her. And she's telling her about how she says Brandon says she's over emotional. Now she's like, hey, again from the Bronx, um, and he went to go talk to another woman about me. Now I don't know. I feel like a lot of information was left out in this conversation. Not that he just went to go talk to other woman, but they're in a house with other people. And so people are going to be constantly asking you about your relationship or everything. I just don't know how I feel that she set it up as though, he's just exclusively, talking about her with another woman. I don't know. I gotta really just kind of reserve my opinion for another episode to see how I feel about that. Now they talk about the Kama Sutra exercise in the last episode. They did a Kama Sutra exercise where they were chosen two different um, positions found in the Kama Sutra, and they were supposed to act them out or at least get in those positions in front of everyone. Now, when they asked them how they feel, everybody else was kind of like, "Oh, I'm tingly. This is exciting, whatever." But they both had lackluster responses to the exercise. Brandon said he was bored. He felt bored, and then you could see Sienna's energy went down from there. Um, and so it got very negative. Now, here's the thing. I believe that an exercise like Kama Sutra positions and things like that should be done once you're a little bit more comfortable with your partner, not as like one of the first activities you do. Um, as in my practice, as first of all, I used to do in-home parties. I used to do um all kind of, like the bedroom candy parties and everything. And we do a lot of fun activities when we have those parties. Now, because everyone's familiar with everyone, it's a little easier to do, little fun activities where you pull out, cards and you may say, do this position, try this position. What do y'all think about that? Let's talk about those things. So I can see how that can be a little bit awkward when you are just meeting someone in person for the first time. It doesn't matter if you've been talking online or whatever, but you've actually never been in each other's personal space, then it makes it a little harder for you to maybe get intimate. And I think a lot of that is what's going to hold these couples back, especially with the types of activities they have them doing. They have them going straight to the physical. They got the intimacy room. They got, doing Kama Sutra exercises. A lot of stuff that usually takes building a lot of other physical trust before you start to do those things. So I just wish they would take a step back on that a little bit, and maybe some of these couples will find their footing if they plan on being in long-term relationships. So I don't know. Anyway, Gigi asked her, would she like to be physical with him, and would that private time make things better? She says maybe. And the only other side problem is he tends to do a lot of laughing, and she says she likes the fun side, but she needs to really see a serious side as well. And so they have a lot of obstacles. I just feel like they have a lot of obstacles. And Gigi tells her, though, maybe don't make too many quick decisions. Test out the soul pole. I was very, your friend said it. And maybe she will. I don't know if they're gonna make it to test anything out because their relationship is so hot and cold. So I don't know. Moving on. Diamond talks to her daughter about Aaron, and she's letting her know he's the real deal. He's doing everything he said he'd do. He's everything that he said he was. She doesn't feel weird about him. Diamond and Aaron have been dating for 5 years online. They've had a bout of infidelity. They're able to work past that. So yay. Now we also have Millie and Greg. They're over in the hot tub, and I don't know if I have the hot tub picture, but Millie and Greg are in a hot tub, and you can tell Greg is really ready to do more uh grown up things, and Millie just seems to have a wall up. And so it cuts to her talking to the girls in the room, in the big girls' room, because it's a bunch of twin beds in one bedroom. She's talking about the fact that she feels like he's trying to push toward a physical relationship quicker than it's evolving. And she just wants him to slow down, because when you try to force a physical relationship, a lot of times it's going to fall flat. So she was like, if he would just slow down. Oh, ooh. If he would just slow down, then everything would, just kind of evolve. And maybe, just maybe, they could be more physical. We'll see. Um, So Aaron and Diamond makes their way to the intimacy suite. And Diamond says while she loves, enjoys, and just has a great time with pleasuring not only herself but her partner, she made a promise to God to not do any of that until marriage. Now, I don't know if she and Aaron had that discussion, but and I'm glad that they can respect those things about each other. I don't know if I would have made it to an intimacy suite if that was my intention to not do anything. Because sometimes when you start the train up and make it leave the station, you can't make it back up. I don't know. We're gonna see. Now, she and Aaron discuss how dinner went with the game. And they don't feel like everybody's being truthful, which we already know that everybody's not going to be truthful. Um, and he is saying, and she is saying, they both agreed that Jody and Chris, let's look at Jody again. This is Jody. Jody, which is the girl, and Chris, which is this guy, have a connection. And it seems like she's more interested in having a connection with Chris than her own person. It seems like the same for him with his person. So it's a little problematic because everybody's noticing that you see a little more action coming from her talking to Chris than the person that she came here for. Um, Also, let's go back to Aaron and Diamond. Let's go and get this out the way. Aaron has a foot fetish, and he was talking to Diamond, wanted to massage her feet. He wanted to kiss her feet. He wanted to make sure, each little piggy um, came to market. Um, yeah, and that's what had happened. So we're gonna go back to the house over here. Now over here at the house, Jody and let's see, Jody and her Aaron and Chris were talking. They talking about how much they get along and everything. But I just need you to see. They're talking. This is Jody talking to Chris with Aaron next to her. And then you have Chris over here engaging with Jody with his lady. And now I forgot her name is Sandia. I was about to say I forgot her name. And they're having a conversation. And this is the thing. They have more conversation than they do with the people that came here with. As you see, Sandia looks like she is out of it. She don't want to do it. She don't want to do it. She don't want to do it. Like it's a lot happening here. Um, Going back to Shay and Sienna, they go and talk to each other, and they're talking about how they felt like different exercises went within the house. Again, Sienna's talking about Kama Sutra exercise, like she just doesn't feel like she got an opportunity to really warm up, and that's where one of her problems is. She didn't feel like she didn't get an opportunity to warm up. Um, Brandon comes into the room while they're having a discussion, and they end up having a tiff about him talking to um talking to Millie about their previous conversations with about each other, and she wanted to know what was being said because she feels like if you can't talk to her about what's going on with her, then you shouldn't be talking to anyone else. I'm in the middle again about this because and the reason why I'm going to hold both of them accountable on this one is because he says to her that some of the information that he said to um Millie was private. Now, if you're talking about someone to someone, then the information that you're talking about shouldn't be all that private. I think he could have just handled this differently and said, "Hey, I just wanted to know the best way to deal with this particular situation when it comes to you, and she was just giving me some insight on how to do it." That could have squashed that whole conversation, but what he ended up letting it do is fester, and they ended up getting into more of an argument over what was said and what was not said. Greg and Millie talked about what they discussed, and she actually says she told Brandon to, he's gonna have to, break down that tough exterior that Sienna has, because being that Millie's a Jersey girl, she understands Sienna's from the Bronx, so she kind of gets where the tough exterior is from. Greg says he thinks that Sienna just needs someone rougher around the edges. But honestly, I feel as though they just have a very different communication style, and they both have communication issues because they don't know how to effectively communicate. Both of them know how to push each other's buttons. And the difference is what you see from Brandon is that he's staying calm, cool, and collected, whereas Sienna is popping off. So of course she looks like the more problematic of the two, when actually both of them um, are the problem, because he's not answering things. Um, and he constantly says, well, she won't let me answer anything, but when she asks him a direct question, he's giving a roundabout answer. So knowing that you have someone that wants direct questions, direct answers to questions that they have, and it's taking you too long to answer, you are doing exactly what they're saying that you're doing, which is you're pushing a button to make them pop off and make you look like the good guy. I don't like that. I think that if you're gonna say something, go ahead and say it and then be done with it. Just go ahead and tell her what you said. Even if it doesn't make her sound good or look good, you already in the doghouse. Just go ahead and get it out the way, especially if she's constantly asking. So he leaves the room, and he's talking to Chris, and Chris don't really have room to talk to anybody because Chris doing way too much as far as I'm concerned when it comes to his relationship with Sandia, because he just need to let her know where they stand. Um, so then they get Shay to come down. They were trying to get Shay's opinion, and they trying to get Josh's opinion. And I feel like Josh was, they're both trying to help them along. So Josh was like, "Look, I think she does like you. I do think she likes you, but I just think that, I don't know, you're gonna have to, you know, she's been hurt, so you're gonna have to figure out a way to not make her, so defensive, basically. Maybe you guys need a reset." At this point, he didn't talk to Chris, and he like, it ain't gonna be no resetting, basically. um so that conversation that he had with Chris really isn't helping the relationship as much as it's just solidifying why he needs to back up off of her. While they're in the middle of the conversation, though, Sienna comes downstairs and tosses the flowers that Brandon gave her back at him, throws it at his feet. So I don't know. I don't know if this is the end of it for this couple. We definitely see. We'll see, you know, next week. So overall, this episode and this show, let's just be honest. Overall, this episode and this show is a lot. Um, I think moving into the next seasons, because since this season already done, we can't do nothing about it. I think they need to get some experts in the house with these people, because these folks have not ever been in the room with each other. So how are they knowing how to get along? They just have been talking online. And sometimes who you are online is not the person you are in person. So you need someone to help you bridge those things. If you're not going to get relationship experts in there to help you bridge those things, you're just kind of doing a free for all. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of people not knowing what to do and where to go and how to deal with stuff. It's going to be chaos and pandemonium every time. I think that they need to, if you're going to have a big old house that you have everyone living in, you need to have more than one intimacy room or none. And you need to let everybody stay in their own rooms. I don't know why they have all the women living in one room together, and then like all the guys are kind of like wherever all over the house. I don't get that. There's a lot of dynamics that just need to be changed for stuff like this. When you're introducing things like Kama Sutra or other sexual positions, I think that that needs to be handled in a different light, instead of just saying, "Okay, class, everybody get in your favorite position and show everybody what you like about it." I think you have to think about these people, again, have never been in each other's company, and you don't know if they're comfortable enough with each other or not. So a lot of things have just been, ignored. You got to get some consent going there, and I feel like there's a lot of lack of consent in this whole thing. And they're, well, I don't know, producers, they're gonna have to be faster when if anybody else get into it, because they were not fast, and that's why I'm not talking about the other two episodes. But anyway, so yeah, there are a lot of working parts to this, um, to these couples, and whether or not they're gonna, stay together, be together. I think that they're gonna have to figure out how to make their relationships work so that when the initial butterflies wear off from, just getting to see each other, you get all excited because, oh, I just get to see this person. You have that part of the relationship that's a little bit more limerent than the rest of it. And then when that wears off, what are you going to do with it? Is this relationship a viable relationship, or is it not a viable relationship? We don't know. So we're going to have to figure that out. And we're going to see what the rest of the episodes look like. So um, let's see. I just want to give y'all a reminder also. These are my opinions. I don't know these people. Um, This is just what I'm gathering from watching the show. I don't know these people for real, and they don't know us for real. But we're just giving our opinions of the review. Next week we're gonna see the fallout of the argument and see whether whose other family and friends have come up to see the couples and what insight they've gathered from them. So I'll be back sometime, I guess, next week. Also, I just want to thank you guys for watching the review with me. If you are watching live, thank you for watching live with me. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Feel free to drop your comments or thoughts in the comment section about this show, and let's talk about what else we could be talking about when it comes to this show. Um, yeah. Also, thank you for just watching. Please like, subscribe, and share the video with a friend if you like it. And as always, come on back and join us here at the Heather's Passion Academy. And we'll see you next time. Thank you again. Bye, y'all.